Mom's medication costs more than she's worth. Those 7 words came out of my daughter-in-law's mouth on a Tuesday afternoon in my own kitchen while I stood 3 feet away holding a glass of water and the pills that keep my heart beating. She didn't whisper it. She didn't even have the decency to wait until I left the room. She said it directly to my son, loud enough for me to hear every single syllable, as if I were a piece of furniture, as if I weren't even human. 6 weeks later, I stopped paying for their health insurance. 4 weeks after that, their 7-year-old daughter needed braces, expensive ones. My name is Catherine Wells. I'm 71 years old. And this is the story of how I learned that sometimes the cruelest thing you can do to people who've taken your kindness for granted is to simply stop being kind. I need you to understand something before I go any further. I'm not a vengeful person by nature. I raised 3 children, worked as a registered nurse for 42 years, and I've always believed that family comes first. Always. My late husband Robert and I built our lives around that principle. When he passed away 5 years ago from a sudden heart attack, he left me comfortable. Not wealthy, but comfortable. A paid-off house in suburban Ohio, a decent pension, his life insurance, and our savings. Robert always said I should be taken care of, and he made sure I was. We had 3 children. Jennifer, my oldest, is a teacher in Oregon. Michael, my youngest, is a marine biologist in Florida. And then there's David, my middle child, 43 years old, works in middle management at a manufacturing plant, and married to a woman named Stephanie for the past 12 years. I love my son. I need to say that clearly. I love David with every fiber of my being, but somewhere along the way, he became someone I barely recognize. Or maybe he's always been this person, and I just didn't want to see it. David and Stephanie have 2 children, Emma, who's 7, and Jacob, who's 10. Those grandchildren are my heart. After Robert died, they became even more precious to me. Jennifer and Michael live so far away, and I only see their kids once or twice a year. But David lives just 20 minutes from me. So I got to be the grandmother who showed up for soccer games and piano recital, who babysat when needed, who never missed a birthday. About 3 years ago, David came to me with a problem. His company had changed their benefit structure, and the health insurance they offered had become, in his words, absolutely terrible. The deductible was through the roof. The coverage was minimal, and with 2 growing kids, he was worried. Stephanie worked part-time at a boutique that offered no benefits at all. "Mom," he said, sitting at my kitchen table, the same table where Robert and I had shared thousands of meals. "I don't know what we're going to do. The premiums for a decent private plan for all 4 of us would be almost $1,800 a month. We just can't swing it." I didn't even hesitate. "I'll take care of it," I told him. He looked at me with such relief, such gratitude. "Mom, I can't ask you to do that. You're not asking. I'm offering. You're my son. Emma and Jacob are my grandchildren. What's money for if not to take care of the people you love?" So, I did it. I called my insurance agent, added them to a family plan under my policy, and started paying $1,847 every single month. It hurt my budget. I won't lie about that. It meant I had to be more careful with my spending. I stopped going out to dinner with my friends as often. I put off some repairs on the house. I didn't take the trip to visit Jennifer that year, but it felt right. It felt like what a mother should do. David was grateful. At first, he'd thank me every time he saw me. Stephanie would smile and say nice things. The kids would hug me and tell me I was the best grandma in the world. But gratitude has a shelf life, I learned. After about 6 months, the thank yous became less frequent. After a year, they stopped entirely. The insurance payments became expected, assumed, as if they were somehow my obligation rather than my gift. Little things started to change. When I'd call David to ask if I could come over to see the kids, there'd be hesitation. "Actually, Mom, today's not great. Maybe this weekend." And then the weekend would come and go without a call back. When I'd invite them to my house for dinner, there was always a reason they couldn't make it. Too busy. The kids had homework. David was tired. Stephanie had plans with her friends, but I'd see on Facebook that they'd gone out to restaurants, that they'd taken the kids to amusement parks, that Stephanie had gone on a girls' weekend to Chicago, that David had bought a new truck. I told myself I was being sensitive, that they were just busy, that this is what happens when grandchildren get older. They have their own lives. My heart medication started that winter. I'd been having some irregular rhythms, some chest pain. My cardiologist prescribed 2 medications that cost, even with my Medicare and supplemental insurance, about $430 a month out of pocket. They weren't covered well because they were newer medications, more effective than the older alternatives, but expensive. I mentioned it to David once, not complaining, just as a matter of conversation. "These new pills are highway robbery," I said with a laugh, trying to make light of it, "but I suppose staying alive is worth it." He barely looked up from his phone. "Yeah, healthcare costs are crazy," he muttered. That should have been my first real warning sign. The Tuesday it happened started like any other day. I'd called David earlier in the week and asked if I could drop off some books I'd bought for Emma and Jacob. He said, "Sure. Come by Tuesday afternoon around 3. I arrived right on time. I always do. I was raised that way. Stephanie's car was in the driveway along with David's truck, which surprised me because he's usually at work that time of day. I walked up to the front door, rang the bell, and waited. No answer. I rang again, still nothing. I could hear voices inside, so I knew someone was home. After the third ring, I used the key they'd given me years ago for emergencies. "Hello?" I called out as I opened the door. "It's just me, Grandma Kate." The voices were coming from the kitchen. I walked through the living room, which was scattered with the comfortable chaos of a family with children. Backpacks by the stairs, shoes by the door, a stack of mail on the side table. As I got closer to the kitchen, the voices became clearer. David's voice stressed and tired, and Stephanie's voice sharp with irritation. I should have announced myself again. I should have made more noise, but something made me pause in the doorway, still out of sight. "I'm just saying, David, we need to look at our expenses." That was Stephanie. "We want to take the kids to Disney World next summer, and we need to start saving now if we're going to do it right. Stay on property, do the meal plan, the whole experience." "I know," David said, "but we don't really have any fat to trim. We've already cut back on eating out. Well, we need to find something." There was a pause, and then Stephanie's voice took on a different tone. Sharp, calculating. "What about your mom's medications? How much is she spending on those?" My blood went cold. "I don't know," David said. "She mentioned they were expensive. A few hundred a month, I think." "A few hundred a month?" Stephanie let out a short laugh. "David, think about this practically. She's 71 years old. She's had a good life. How much longer is she even going to be around? Meanwhile, we're drowning trying to give our children a good life, and she's spending hundreds of dollars a month on pills when we could really use some help with the kids' activities. Emma wants to do competitive cheerleading, and that's not cheap." I stood frozen. My own breath sounded too loud in my ears. "Steph, I don't know." David's voice was weak, uncertain, but he wasn't disagreeing. He wasn't defending me. "I'm not saying anything bad," Stephanie continued. And I could hear her moving around the kitchen, probably loading the dishwasher the way she always did when she was working through a thought. "I'm just being realistic. Mom's medication costs more than she's worth at this point. She's already lived her life, had her career, raised her kids. Our kids are the future. Don't you think if she really loved her grandchildren, she'd want to prioritize them over extending her own life by a few years?" The glass of water I'd been holding slipped from my hand. It didn't break. It hit the carpeted edge of the hallway and tumbled, water spreading in a dark stain, but it made enough noise. The kitchen went silent. "Mom," David's voice suddenly panicked. "Is someone there?" I couldn't move. I stood there staring at that spreading water stain, feeling something inside my chest that had nothing to do with my heart condition. It was the feeling of something breaking that couldn't be put back together. David appeared in the doorway. His face went white when he saw me. "Mom, we didn't know you were—" I found my voice. It came out steady, calm, cold. "I came to drop off books for the children. I let myself in. You didn't hear me." Stephanie appeared behind him. She had the decency to look uncomfortable at least. Her cheeks were flushed, but her eyes were defiant. "Mrs. Wells," she started, but I held up my hand. "I heard what you said, Stephanie. Every word." I looked at my son. "Both of you." "Mom, she didn't mean it like that," David said quickly. "It came out wrong. We were just talking about budgets, and your wife believes my medication costs more than I'm worth." I kept my voice even, and you sat there and listened to her say it. In fact, if I heard correctly, your concern wasn't that she said it, but that you didn't know if you agreed. "That's not fair," Stephanie said, her voice rising. "You're taking it out of context." "I was just trying to have a practical conversation about family finances with my husband." "Family finances?" I nodded slowly. The family finances that include the $1,847 I pay every single month so that you and your children have health insurance. That family finance. The room went very quiet. Where are Emma and Jacob? I asked. Upstairs, David said quietly. Playing video games. Good. I don't want them to hear this. I looked at both of them. I'm going to leave now. I'll mail the books to the children. Mom, please, David said. Let's talk about this. Stephanie will apologize. We can. No, I said simply. We can't. I turned and walked back through the living room. Behind me, I heard David say my name again, but I didn't stop. I got in my car, drove home, and sat in my driveway for 20 minutes before I could make myself go inside. I didn't cry. I thought I would, but I didn't. Instead, I felt a strange clarity settle over me. For 3 years, I had paid for their health insurance, 33 months of payments. That was over $60,000. $60,000 while they bought new trucks and planned Disney vacations and complained that cheerleading was expensive. $60,000 from a woman whose medication costs more than she's worth. I went inside and made myself a cup of tea. I took my evening medications, the pills that cost $430 a month, the pills that keep me alive to be a grandmother, to volunteer at the library, to have lunch with my friends, to watch the birds in my backyard, to live the life I still have plenty of reasons to enjoy. Then I called my insurance agent. Hi, Susan, I said when she answered. It's Catherine Wells. I need to make a change to my policy. Of course, Catherine, what can I help you with? I need to remove 4 people from my family health plan. My son, David Wells, his wife Stephanie, and their 2 children, Emma and Jacob. There was a pause. Oh, may I ask? Is this about switching them to a different policy, or they'll need to find their own coverage? I said, I'm just removing them from mine. Okay. Susan's voice was professional, but I could hear the curiosity. We'd known each other for years. I can process that. The change will take effect at the end of the current coverage month. That gives them about 6 weeks to find new insurance. I'll send you the paperwork. Thank you, Susan. Catherine, she said gently, I don't mean to pry. But is everything all right? Everything's fine, I said. I'm just making a change that should have been made a long time ago. After I hung up, I sat down and wrote an email to David. I didn't trust myself to say it out loud. Not yet. The email was short. David, I've contacted my insurance agent and removed you, Stephanie, Emma, and Jacob from my health insurance policy. The coverage will end on December 31st, which gives you 6 weeks to arrange your own insurance. This is not a negotiation. This is not a punishment. This is simply me accepting what Stephanie made very clear. I need to prioritize my own life and my own needs. The money I've been spending on your insurance will now go toward my own health care, my own expenses, and my own future. However long or short that future may be, I love you. I love Emma and Jacob. But I will not continue to financially support a household where I am seen as an expendable burden. Mom. I read it 3 times before I sent it. David called within 10 minutes. I didn't answer. He called 6 more times that evening. I didn't answer. He sent text messages. Mom, please pick up. Mom, we need to talk about this. Mom, this is crazy. You're overreacting. We can't afford insurance without your help. That last message made me turn my phone off entirely. The next few weeks were hard. David showed up at my house twice. The first time I didn't answer the door. The second time I opened it but kept the chain on. Mom, please, he said through the gap. Just talk to me. I've said everything I need to say, David. We can't afford health insurance on our own. You know that. Then I suggest you figure it out. Cut back on Disney vacation funds, sell the truck, make different choices. That's what adults do. So you're just going to abandon your grandchildren? Leave them without health care. That one hurt. He knew it would. I'm not abandoning anyone, I said quietly. I'm simply no longer paying for something I can't afford to pay for. You're their parents. Providing for them is your responsibility, not mine. You can afford it. Dad left you plenty of money. Your father left me money for my own security and care. Not to fund your family's lifestyle while your wife calculates whether my life is worth living. He flinched. She didn't mean it like that. Yes, she did. And so did you. Or you would have defended me. I started to close the door. You have 4 weeks left of coverage. I suggest you spend that time finding a solution instead of arguing with me. I closed the door and locked it. I heard him stand there for a long moment before finally walking away. Stephanie tried a different approach. She sent me a long text message apologizing, saying she'd been stressed and said something horrible that she didn't mean, that she valued me and loved me and never meant to hurt me. I didn't respond. She sent flowers. I gave them to my neighbor. She had Emma and Jacob make me cards. Those almost broke me. Emma's card had a drawing of the two of us holding hands with, "I love you, Grandma Kate," written in careful second-grade letters. Jacob said, "Please don't be mad at Mom and Dad. We miss you." I put the cards in a drawer and cried for the first time since this whole thing started, but I didn't change my mind. It was early January when my phone rang, a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Mrs. Wells?" A woman's voice, professional. "This is Amanda from Dr. Peterson's orthodontic office. I'm calling about Emma Wells." My heart skipped. Is Emma okay? "Oh, she's fine. This is just about her treatment plan. We saw Emma back in November for her consultation, and Dr. Peterson recommended she begin orthodontic treatment as soon as possible. Her bite alignment needs correction before it affects the development of her adult teeth." "I see," I said slowly. "Why are you calling me?" "Well, your son David listed you as the financial guarantor on Emma's patient forms. We've sent him the treatment plan and cost estimate twice now, but we haven't heard back. The total cost is $8,400, though we do offer payment plans. We were hoping to get Emma started this month." I closed my eyes. "Miss Amanda, I need to be clear with you. I am not financially responsible for my granddaughter's medical or dental care. Her parents are. You'll need to contact them directly." "Oh," she sounded confused, "but Mr. Wells specifically put your name and contact information. He did that without my permission or knowledge. I'm sorry you've been caught in the middle of this, but you'll need to work directly with Emma's parents. If they can't afford the treatment, I'm sure you have information about financing options you can share with them." There was an awkward pause. "Of course, I'm sorry for the confusion. I'll update our records. Thank you for calling." I hung up and sat very still. $8,400 for braces for my beautiful granddaughter, who I loved more than almost anything in this world. I thought about calling David. I thought about transferring the money right then, because Emma shouldn't suffer because of her parents' cruelty and entitlement. But then I remembered Stephanie's voice in that kitchen. Mom's medication costs more than she's worth. I remembered my son saying nothing in my defense. I remembered 3 years of paying $1,800 a month while being slowly frozen out of their lives, taken for granted, treated like an ATM machine that should be grateful for the occasional permission to see my own grandchildren. I didn't call. 20 minutes later, my phone rang again. "David," this time I answered. "What the hell, Mom?" His voice was furious. "The orthodontist just called me and said you refused to pay for Emma's braces. You put your own granddaughter's health at risk because you're mad at us." "I didn't put anyone's health at risk," I said calmly. "Emma needs braces. You're her father. Pay for them. With what money? We don't have $8,000 lying around. And thanks to you, we're now paying $600 a month for shitty insurance through my company, which by the way doesn't cover orthodontics at all. We had to put the kids on a separate dental plan. That's another $150 a month." "I'm sorry you're struggling," I said. And I meant it. I was sorry. Sorry that it had come to this. Sorry that my son had turned into someone who thought this was an acceptable conversation to have. But this is not my problem to solve. Not your problem. She's your granddaughter, and she's your daughter. Your responsibility, not mine. We can't afford this. The insurance payments alone are killing us. We've had to take the kids out of half their activities. Stephanie had to go back to full-time work at a job she hates. We can Disney. We're barely making it, and now Emma needs expensive dental work, and you're just going to sit there on your pile of money and do nothing." Something snapped inside me. The calm I'd been maintaining shattered. "My pile of money." My voice rose. "The money your father worked his entire life to leave me. The money that's supposed to take care of me for the rest of my life. The money I've already spent $60,000 of to pay for your health care. While your wife complained about how my existence is too expensive. She apologized for that. She apologized for saying it out loud, not for thinking it. There's a difference, David, and if you can't see that, then I've failed you as a mother somewhere along the way. So this is punishment. You're punishing Emma because Stephanie said something stupid. This isn't punishment. This is reality. I'm 71 years old. I take medication that costs money. I have my own expenses, my own future to plan for. What happens if I need care? What happens when I can't live alone anymore? That money needs to be there for me. Not for your Disney vacations, Not for competitive cheerleading, not for braces. For me, you're being selfish. I laughed. I couldn't help it. Yes. Yes, I am. For the first time in 3 years, I'm being selfish. And you know what? It feels honest. Emma is going to have crooked teeth because her grandmother is petty and vindictive. Emma is going to have crooked teeth if her father can't figure out how to pay for braces. You make decent money, David. You have a house. You have 2 cars. You have options. Use them. Get a loan. Pick up overtime. Have Stephanie work more hours. Cut your expenses. Do what millions of other parents do every day. Figure it out. I can't believe you've turned into this person. Funny, I said. I was thinking the same thing about you. I hung up. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding in a way that probably wasn't good for my condition. I took a few deep breaths, took my medication, and made myself some chamomile tea. I didn't feel victorious. I felt sad. Sad that it had come to this. Sad that my relationship with my son had deteriorated so completely. Sad that my grandchildren were caught in the middle. But I didn't feel wrong. February passed, then March. I heard nothing from David or Stephanie. I sent birthday cards to Emma and Jacob with $50 each. Not because I was trying to buy their affection, but because I'm still their grandmother and I still love them. I didn't know if they received them. Jennifer called me in late March. Mom, David called me. He's really upset. He says you've cut them off completely and won't help Emma get braces. That's not exactly accurate, I said. But I'm not surprised that's his version. What's your version? I told her. Everything. The comment in the kitchen, the insurance payments I'd been making, the decision to stop the braces situation. Jennifer was quiet for a long time. Mom, I don't even know what to say. You don't have to say anything, honey. Actually, I do. I had no idea you were paying for their insurance. Why didn't you tell me? It wasn't your concern. It was between me and David for 3 years, Mom. $60,000 over 3 years, and he never mentioned it, not once. In fact, he complained to me last Christmas about how expensive everything was. And I felt bad because Mike and I are doing well, and I thought David was struggling. He is struggling now. Good. Jennifer's voice was sharp. Mom, I'm so angry. I could spit. The way Stephanie talked about you, the way David didn't defend you, and then to have the nerve to expect you to pay for braces after everything. I appreciate you saying that. I'm going to call him. Please don't. This is between me and David. I don't want to divide the family more than it already is. Too late for that, Mom. He divided it when he let his wife talk about you like you're some kind of burden, like your life doesn't matter. After we hung up, I felt a little less alone. Michael called a few days later with a similar response. My youngest, always so thoughtful, said, Mom, I'll help with Emma's braces if you want me to. I don't want you to feel guilty about this. Absolutely not, I said firmly. That's sweet, but this isn't about Emma's teeth. This is about David and Stephanie learning that actions have consequences. They're learning it now, he said. David called me asking for money. I told him no. You did? Mom, I love my brother, but what Stephanie said was unforgivable, and his response was even worse. You've been helping them for years and they treated you like a bank. I'm not rewarding that. I cried after that call, but they were good tears. It was mid-April when Stephanie showed up at my door alone. I saw her through the window standing on my porch, her car in the driveway. She looked tired, thinner than I remembered. She rang the doorbell and waited. I considered not answering, but I'm not a coward, and I figured we might as well have this out. I opened the door but didn't invite her in. Hi, Catherine. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Stephanie, can we talk? We can talk here. She glanced at the street, then back at me. Please. I drove all the way over here. Can I come in? I stepped back and let her enter, but I didn't offer her a seat. We stood in the foyer, uncomfortable. I need to explain, she said. You already did in my kitchen. I heard you perfectly. She flinched. I was having a bad day. I was stressed about money. I said something horrible that I didn't mean. You meant it, I said quietly. Maybe you wish you hadn't said it out loud, but you meant it. How can you say that? You don't know what I meant. Stephanie, I'm 71, not stupid. You've spent 3 years slowly pushing me out of your family while happily accepting my money. You've canceled plans with me, made excuses when I wanted to see my grandchildren, and treated my presence like an inconvenience. The only time you were warm to me was right before I had to make the insurance payment each month. Her face flushed. That's not true. It is true. And somewhere in your mind, you justified it. You justified treating me like a burden because you decided I'd already lived my life. And my purpose now was to serve your family's needs, my life, my health. None of that mattered compared to what you wanted. We needed that insurance. We really did. Then you should have been grateful for it. You should have treated me like a person you valued instead of an ATM you were irritated with when I dared to exist in ways that cost money. Stephanie's eyes filled with tears. David is miserable. He misses you. The kids miss you. I miss them too. Then why are you doing this? Why are you punishing all of us? I took a breath. I'm not punishing anyone. I'm protecting myself. I'm ensuring that the money I have lasts for my own care, for my own life, for as long as I have left. Whether that's 1 year or 20 years, it's my life and my money, and I get to decide how it's spent. Emma still needs braces. Emma has 2 parents with jobs. Figure it out. We can't. We're drowning. The insurance alone is taking a huge chunk of our income. We've cut back on everything. We're barely holding on. I'm sorry about that, truly, but it's not my emergency to fix. Please. She was crying now. Please, Catherine, I know I messed up. I said something terrible. I'll never forgive myself for it, but please don't make Emma suffer for my mistake. I'm not making Emma suffer. You are. You and David chose to live a lifestyle that required my financial support. You chose to take that support for granted. You chose to value my money more than my humanity. Those were your choices. And now you're living with the consequences. What do you want from me? Her voice broke. You want me to gravel? Fine, I'm graveling. You want me to say I'm a terrible person? I'm a terrible person. What do I have to do to make this right? Nothing, I said gently. There's nothing you can do. That's what I'm trying to make you understand. Some things once broken can't be fixed. So you're just done. After everything, you're just writing off your son and your grandchildren. I'm not writing anyone off. My door isn't locked. My phone works. When Emma and Jacob are old enough, they can have a relationship with me if they choose to, but my financial relationship with you and David is over permanently. You're going to regret this, Stephanie said, her voice turning cold. When you're really old and sick and need help, you're going to regret pushing away your family. Perhaps, I said. But I'd rather face that possibility than spend whatever time I have left being treated like a burden by people who are supposed to love me. She stared at me for a long moment, then turned and walked out. She slammed the door behind her. I sat down in Robert's old chair and looked at his picture on the mantel. Well, I said to him, I think I finally grew a spine. I hope you'd be proud. I like to think he would be. That was 7 months ago. Emma got her braces. I don't know how David and Stephanie managed it. Maybe they got a loan. Maybe Stephanie's parents helped. Maybe they worked out a payment plan. It doesn't matter. They figured it out without me. I saw Emma and Jacob in the grocery store last month. They were with Stephanie. And when Emma saw me, her face lit up. She ran over and hugged me, showing me her braces with a big smile. Jacob was more reserved, but he hugged me too. Stephanie stood back, watching. We made eye contact. I nodded at her. She nodded back. No words were exchanged. I miss you, Grandma Kate, Emma said. I miss you too, sweetheart. Can we come visit you sometime? I looked at Stephanie. She looked away, but she didn't say no. If your mom and dad say it's okay, I'd love that. The kids ran back to Stephanie, chattering excitedly. She put her hands on their shoulders and guided them away without looking back. David still hasn't called me. 7 months of silence. It hurts more than I'd like to admit, but I'm okay. I've been taking art classes at the senior center. I've gone on 2 trips with my friends, including one to visit Jennifer and her family in Oregon. I've been volunteering more. I even went on a date with a widower I met at church, though nothing came of it. I'm living my life, the life that, according to Stephanie, wasn't worth the cost of my medication. I think about that moment in the kitchen sometimes. How quickly everything changed. How 7 words revealed a truth that had probably been there all along, hiding under the surface of strained smiles and canceled plans. Mom's medication costs more than she's worth. I'm worth more than that. I'm worth more than being tolerated for the financial support I can provide. I'm worth being treated with dignity and respect and love. And if my own son can't see that, then that's his failure, not mine. I'm 71 years old. I take medication that keeps my heart beating. And I'm not done living yet, not by a long shot.